Hey, back, it's me, and in today's video, I'm continuing my look at the Alfred Hitchcock Masterpiece Collection box set, Blu-ray, and it's got 14 films in it. And this is Shadow of a Doubt from 1943. Now it's considered by Hitchcock himself as one of his favourite films. Yes, this is the one he says is his favourite. But does it live up to all the masterpiece hype that we seem to be getting about this film and being his best? Well, let's have a look at this. It's 108 minutes long. Rotten Tomatoes follow that trend, give it 100%. Yes, the critics absolutely adore it, and they still do. I think it's a wonderful film. The screenplay is by three people: Thornton Wilder, Sally Benson, and Alma Revelle. And it's based on a true story of Earl Nelson, a serial killer of the late 1920s, known as the Gorilla Man. Yes, no, great title, isn't it? Yeah. It's directed, of course, by Alfred Hitchcock. It was filmed in and set, the actual location, in Santa Rosa, California. And the music was by Dmitri Tiomkin and Franz Lehar. Let's get into the cast. Okay. Teresa Wright plays Charlie Newton. Teresa Wright is great in this film. If anything, you would put this, in my opinion, she's really good in this film. She really contributes to how good it's seen as in her performance. Films that she was in was Mrs. Miniver, 1942, Something to Live For, 1952. She was in Count the Hours, 1953, which is a Don Siegel film. She was in the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, 1964, 2 episodes, and very much later in her career, she was in The Exorcist 3 from 1990. Yeah. She had really a great career. And she looks beautiful as well. Hitchcock certainly knew how to pick beautiful women in his films. Then we've got Joseph Cotten, another well-known actor in terms of the films that he's been involved in. He plays the important part, of course, Uncle Charlie, or Charles Oakley, that's his name. Citizen Kane, Joseph Cotten was in 1941. Gaslight, 1944. The Third Man, yes, 1949. From Earth to Moon, 1958, a sci-fi film. He was in Tora, 1970. That's a war film. He was in The Abominable Dr. Vibes. That's it. That is 1971, and of course that's Vincent Price. Yes, so he's all of another classic sci-fi film, Soylent Green, 1973. He was in Airport 77, 1977, and of course he appeared in Alfred Hitchcock Presents in 1958 and 1959. Big favourite of Hitchcock he was. And what a great career. Again, amazing career. Very much important and crucial. I would say those two, Teresa Way and Joseph Cotten, really stand out in this film. Then we've got MacDonald Carey playing Detective Jack Graham. Crucial again to this. He was in The Lawless, 1950, which was a film noir. Joseph Losey directed film. He was in Alfred Hitchcock Presents, 1959. He was in the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, 1962. He was in, now listen to this, he was in The Damned, directed by Joseph Losey. But crucially, it's a Hammer film. Yes, I've reviewed that film. I absolutely love The Damned. I think it's a great film. He was, let's see, in, what else have I got here? Oh yeah, that's it. That's the sort of main ones that I've looked on his filmography. Some great films there. Then we've got Henry Travers playing Joseph Newton, who is Charlie's father. And she's his daughter, of course. And he was in Mrs. Miniver again, 1942. The Yearling, we've talked about that film before. The Family Western from 1946. Now, here's the one he was in, It's a Wonderful Life, playing the angel. James Stewart stars in with that. And that is the classic Christmas film that everybody talks about and remembers. Yeah, he was. So, I mean, that's it. I just mentioned that because that is, what a career that is to have that on your CV. Yeah. Then we've got Patricia Collins playing Emma Newton, his wife, Charlie's mother. She was in obviously she was in Shadow of Doubt. Yes. She was in The Nun Story from 1959. She was in Alfred Hitchcock Presents 1955 to 1965 in 4 episodes. Yeah, 4 episodes she's in that series. Then we have Hume Cronin playing Herbie Hawkins. Now, he's the neighbour who keeps going on about private detective story, whodunit stories, how to get rid of people and all that. It's like his amusement with a father, and you see him popping up at various times in this film. He was in Postman Always Rings Twice, which is a great film noir film, which is really good, from 1946, but of course was remade by Jack Nicholson, if you remember, with Jessica Lange. Postman Always Rings Twice, but this is the original film he was in. Then he was in Cleopatra, 1963, and then he was in Cocoon twice. He was in Cocoon 1985 and Cocoon The Return 1988. Brilliant films. What can you say about those 2 films? Wow, they were just fantastic films. Yes, I need to go into the plot, and then I'll talk a little bit about it generally. Now, it starts with, you can say it starts with Uncle Charlie, and we see him in what looks like quite sort of a situation that he seems to be running away from and avoiding. And what happens is that Charlie Newton is the daughter of his sister, and they live in a quiet small town, and he sends a telegram to say that he's coming to visit them. And of course, Charlie is absolutely buzzing about it. She's really excited. Her uncle, she feels she's got a good relationship, a bond with him. So he makes this unexpected visit, and they're really pleased to see him and everything. But then as we move on, things start to sort of change, and Charlie begins to notice things. a lot of things, just things happen here and there, and she starts to question things, and does some, ends up doing a bit of research as well, and eventually, after various events happen, and there's this visit by two people who are in fact detectives, who are trying to supposedly do a survey, but really they want to identify Uncle Charlie, because they believe him to be the serial killer, and they've come to get their proof, and because he doesn't want to, that kind of again alerts her and the stories, and she finds out about this story of this serial killer, and how he basically kills all these rich old ladies, and it comes out his hatred as well for these rich ladies. Basically, he really doesn't like them. He kind of hates them and takes all the money, and that's what he does. And she obviously becomes a very wary of him, very afraid in many ways, and he realizes that she knows exactly what it is, and this again leads to sort of an inevitable part of the story. Hitchcock really does this quite well, because when I felt the film, particularly in the early parts of it, is you could say there's not a great deal of action. It's very much a character study, really, and uncovering all these things. And we know from the beginning that something isn't right about Uncle Charlie, and this becomes quite self-evident that underneath all this, well, people like him, the respectability, they think he's a great chap, but there's a great evil lurking under there, and this is what the film builds upon and shows. Hitchcock appears himself as usual. About 16 minutes, he's on the train. Yes, so we see him. He's there on the train. You can see him. So now, this film is really examining small-time towns like America, that maybe underneath all that, things are not as nice and wonderful, peaceful as we seem. Evil can lurk anywhere, and here it is. It's in a small town, and that is what is so good about this film, I think, in what Hitchcock is showing. And that is why I think a lot of people really seen this, because a lot of other people haven't looked at the stories like that in this period of time. It's kind of a new examination, a new look at all this about evil, and everything is not all roses and lovely apple pie and all that kind of thing. It's not at all, and this is what this film kind of shows and uncovers in this small town. Is it Hitchcock's greatest film? For me, no, I don't think it is. I think Psycho is his greatest film, of what I've seen. Why? Because I think Psycho is better paced. I think there's more action in it. There's more kind of terror in it. But I'm not saying that the terror is not as blatant in this. But I feel that Anthony Perkins does such a good job in his role that he really kind of excels so much, and that makes that a masterpiece, if you want to use those terms rather than this. That is my own personal opinion. That's how I felt about this film. I don't love it as much as Psycho. Psycho I absolutely love. This one, I don't in the same way. But I watched this again, and I think maybe seeing it again and again might improve even my feelings towards this film. But it's one that's highly recommended to watch, and everybody else obviously, the critics and everybody else seems to think it is one of these great films. But I don't know. There are a few other great films in Hitchcock's library. As well as Psycho, which I love, there are a lot of other ones that I think, and in comparison with this one, But I wouldn't dismiss it like people say, oh, it's another of these black and white classics. Don't get Psychos in black and white. I don't know why people go funny about black and white films. They're great to look at, and this fits perfectly into that. But that's just my opinion on it, I enjoyed, I've enjoyed watching it, but I still wouldn't say it was my top favourite Hitchcock film. But anyhow, just before I go, there it is. There's the wonderful box set. And I hope you'll enjoy the next one, which will be coming up next week. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and then we'll let you know when I produce these videos. And have a look at the playlists if you're interested in what else I do. If you like this video, please give it a like, because then it gets it out onto YouTube and the algorithms. And if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I really do love to read your comments. And it all costs notes. You can't say a prayer than that. Buy it, you can't nowadays. I'll tell you, you can't. And that's it. Yes, that's it. So all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.